3. And we are live.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Let's see. All right. Shot new. We're live? Yeah?
Yes, John, we are live.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everybody. I'm Leon. I'm a developer advocate here at Zencoder, and Shot new. He's also a developer advocate on the other side of the globe. Although, actually, we're on the same place right now for the first time ever. We're both at an offsite, just coming up with cool ideas. And I'm here to show you one of our latest. So today's talk is going to be about bringing your own CLI to Zencoder. And first of all, what that means, what that looks like. Second of all, what kind of value you might get from doing that. And third, how to get it done. So first, what does it mean? Bringing your own CLI is sort of like bringing your own API key, except that nowadays you might have not just, an API-based billing with a provider, but a whole flat fee subscription, right? So I'm sure there's some of you out there that have a Claude Code flat fee subscription. Um, some of you might have an OpenAI Codex subscription. Some of you might have a Gemini CLI subscription. And each of those subscriptions essentially lets you consume, I'm not going to say unlimited, but unmetered, or to an extent, an unmetered amount of inference uh, with sort of like reasonable duration, time-based limits, right? So with Claude Code, you might a limit every 5 hours or so, for example. With Codex, the limits might be different. But overall, it's been the case for us that we can extract a lot of value out of those subscriptions, right? So uh, it can be difficult to meter exactly how much value you're extracting from one of those CLI subscriptions. But if you break down the actual amount of inference that you're consuming from any of those providers, I think you'll find that you can easily rack up thousands of dollars worth of inference for your 100 or your 200, or to a smaller extent, even your $20 a month subscription. So we figured, well, why not bring all of that raw power and all of that value directly inside of Zencoder so you can leverage the best parts of Zencoder and sort of not just bring your own fuel, but bring your own engine as well. And here's what that might look like. So if I go ahead and share my screen real quick, 1 second. Fantastic. Okay. Okay, there it is.
I think your screen is not being shared, Johan.
Yep, yeah, I got it right here.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. So here I have one of my repositories, right? And right from the get-go, you can see here that we have a new selection area down here in the chat box. In the selection next to the model selector, you'll also find the agent CLI. And that's essentially which runtime your agent is going to be using behind the scenes. So of course, you can have the Zen CLI off the bat, and that's going to give you a Zencoder flavor that you're already used to. And that is going to essentially bill your inference directly from your Zencoder plan. However, let's say you have a Claude Code subscription. I can select Claude Agent, and then I can start querying, and you'll see here. So already we're checking, do I have this Claude Code subscription, right? So here you'll see I'm not adding my API key, but instead I'm going to log in, open this guy up, and now I'm setting things up. So Claude Code, and now I have a Claude account, so we'll open that up, authorize. And now if I come back here, try again. And we're off. And you can see this flavor, right? This flavor is pretty familiar with anybody that has a Claude Code subscription or has played around with Claude Code, right? This sort of playful generating UI. So right now, what's happening is all this inference is being taken or being built against my Claude Code plan, right? And for those of you that have a Claude Code subscription, you no longer need to choose between, okay, am I going to use Zencoder or Claude Code? It's no longer an either or, right? It's bringing the best of both worlds. And so naturally, I think at this point, you might ask yourself, okay, well, if I already have Claude Code, as opposed to, Zencoder, if I already have Zencoder but not Claude Code, so why would I want to use Zencoder if I'm already if I'm getting the inference from Claude Code, right? And for some of you that are familiar with Claude Code, or sorry, some of you that are familiar with Zencoder, that answer, is sort of a no-brainer, right? Because you're already familiar with all the UX features just off the bat. You're already familiar with having it right here with you in the IDE. Also things like really simple revert, but also really simple model selection, right? So if you're going on Claude Code alone, there are instances where you may want to use a model outside of that provider family, right? So if I open this up here and I see if I go to my selector here, I've only got these Claude models, and naturally so, right? Because I'm running the Claude CLI, which means I've got the Claude models. But if I have a task that is a better fit for maybe another agent, um, for example, um, I find that models in the Gemini models handle really large context windows quite well. So if I want to sort of synthesize or summarize some really large files that I have, then I might want to switch that scope of work to a Gemini model, right? And then that will come right out of my Zencoder usage, and I can do that right here instead of logging in and logging out and managing separate CLIs. So at a very baseline, right? Being able to select between models from different providers and being able to have it all inside of the developer environment that you're already familiar with is why you might want to bring the power of your CLI subscription into the centralized management of Zencoder. But then you've also got some pretty robust, I'd say, centralized infrastructure features that really start to shine at scale, as well as even when you're starting out. So one of the features that I want to show you there, and I'll switch back. You know what? For those of you that are unfamiliar, I'm just going to show you real quick the agents panel, right? So Zencoder custom agents are agents that you can essentially either copy from our catalog to get started, like a debugging assistant, legacy code modernizer, as well as custom agents that you can create for both personal use and roll out to the whole team when you've tested it, feels good, it works well. And now, anytime I make updates to this or scope new tools that this agent can use, those changes propagate instantly to everybody else, right? Um, uh, Another really great feature that you can essentially bring your CLI subscription to and then leverage on top of it with Zencoder is multi-repo search. Now, I did a different webinar on multi-repo search a couple weeks ago, and it's far and away my favorite feature. So I would be surprised if I do another one down the line. But with multi-repo search, you're essentially indexing all of the repos that make up the ecosystem of your platform, and then pulling that context in as relevant in the middle of your conversation, right? So here I've got not just information about this repo, but information about other repos that it interacts with. And from here, I can drill down even further, right? So for example, for this repo, I know that this is the backend, and now I see it interacts with these two clients. Now I can drill down further, right? Now I can figure out how does the videos endpoint look in terms of consumption, in terms of implementation, in the website, in the React Native client. And I can do all that going back and forth with my Claude Code, Codex, Gemini subscription. So basically, infer your heart out and just have the right context every time. So at scale, you need that centralized infrastructure that captures your entire organization's basically the infrastructure of the entire organization and feed it into your provider. Okay, I'm going to switch to a different view now. One second. There we go. I'll stop there for any questions. Shantanu, do we have any questions? I think you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. No, we don't have any questions, but Daniel says hi to you and me. So,
Daniel, good to see you. Always good to see you. I would love to actually hear from some of you if you already have a Claude Code or Codex or Gemini CLI subscription, yeah, how you're using it, right? How you're enjoying it, because a lot of these CLIs are, terminal-based UIs, and it's a very, very different experience than having the interactions happen with you right there in the IDE. I see Pyotr's got a question. Do we need a paid subscription? No, you can bring. So that's the really cool part about it, right? Is at a baseline, you can actually bring over your Claude Code subscription, and even with a free version of Zencoder, it'll work. You'll miss out on some of the more advanced features of Zencoder, like multi-repo search or autonomous agents or analytics, but you're still going to get enormous value out of just having the Zencoder chat and the model selection switcher and the custom agents all there out of the box for you. So even that is a pretty huge value proposition. And then when you're ready to start scaling up, you're already in the environment that you've come to know and code in every day. But yeah, I think the idea that I want to drill down in is as you sort of start experimenting with more providers, you're going to start to notice you're going to start to notice that different providers and different models just specialize in different things, right? So one model might be really speedy, right, at some like quick UI work. Uh, Another model might be really fantastic for like reasoning intensive things. Another model from another provider, fantastic with huge contexts, right? And that's going to be natural as different providers find ways to differentiate in the market, right? And find ways to be useful. Now, the idea here is to let you bring the value where you find it as a user and as a developer into this really provider agnostic ecosystem. So I probably don't have to tell anybody that the LLM provider agentic ecosystem is changing really quickly and changing all the time. So I think on top of just the obvious cost savings, right, and the efficiency of what we're doing here, it also provides a level of stability that I think those of you that have been doing this for long enough um, might get a lot of value out of. Because it's tricky. It can be tricky, right, to just figure out different paid plans for and constantly compare like, okay, what is the value I'm getting from this versus that provider? And here the focus is really on, okay, where is Zencoder actually adding value, right? Not just providing inference at a baseline, although obviously feel free to use Zencoder for that too. But when you remove that inference providing layer, where is the real value on top of it? Where is the centralized infrastructure, right? Custom agents, multi-repo, autonomous agents, analytics. What's the value add that powers your inference, helps you reason as a developer, helps you be curious about how the whole platform and the whole ecosystem works in a way that you simply can't, no matter how much inference you actually have access to. And so that's my favorite part about it, right? Is that I no longer have to choose between, the provider and the features on top. I see we have a question from
Yes, we have a bunch
Pinky.
of questions. Yeah. So we have a question
Cool.
from Feng. I missed the initial part because of a technical issue. What is the relationship between Zencoder and Cloud Code?
Yeah, the relationship between Zencoder and Claude Code is the same as the relationship to an extent with Zencoder and any other top of the line frontier provider, right? Between Zencoder and Codex, between between Zencoder OpenAI, between Zencoder and Gemini. So just to quickly recap, you can now bring your own CLI subscription. So for example, your $100 or $200 a month Claude Code subscription or your ChatGPT subscription that you can leverage with AI with OpenAI Codex and bill directly to that inside of Zencoder instead of billing to the inference included with your Zencoder plan, or in addition to the inference included with your Zencoder plan. I
Got it.
see another question. Yeah, can you read that out?
Sure. Yep. There you go. So it's around how MCP tools and custom agents are integrated with Cloud Code when using Zencoder. Are they propagated? Cloud Code has a nice feature to choose agent on runtime. So yeah,
Yep. So the cool thing is that your custom agents come with you. So Claude Code is a nice feature to choose agents on runtime. You can choose your custom agents at the start of any chat, regardless of whether that chat is being powered by Claude Code, Codex. So if I jump back into the IDE here, you know what? Let's share my screen one more time. Okay.
let me add. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you can see it. Okay, great. So I'll start a new chat. And okay, I'm already running Claude. And now here I have all these sweet agents that my organization, that Zencoder, has spent so much time working on internally, right? So you're you actually might find this one in the catalog, but some of these are just internal to Zencoder, right? That we've created based on really specific use cases. And the magic of that is that unlike some of the sub agents that you might configure natively in your Claude Code CLI or your Codex, these agents are centrally managed, right? So they're not living in just a root directory of your project somewhere, which means normally for another person, for your whole team to have access to those agents that you define, both in terms of system prompts and in terms of MCPs that are scoped to them, like you would have to push that to the repo, and then somebody else would have to, whoever wants to use it would have to clone that, pull it to keep it updated, right? And it can be updated at any point and outdated at any point on anybody else's machine. Here, when I select any of these, I know that I have these are all the ones that are out there, right? I'm not missing one that somebody made and never pushed to the repo or that I never pulled. And I know that all of these are current up to date. So that's again, right? That's coming back to the awesome inference provided by the provider, and then the centralized infrastructure on top that lets you have access to all of your team's resources.
Got it.
Bottom, there
Awesome.
it is.
I have one more question for you, Leon.
Yeah,
So Samuel is asking, can you use a local LLM as well?
that's coming. That's coming. So we started rolling out just with the right now. You can select from the obviously the Zencoder native implementation and Claude Code and OpenAI Codex. Coming soon is Gemini, as well as the option to use your local LLM as well. Although that is actually sort of more on the BYOK side, right? Like bring your own key and then, configure a custom endpoint to reach your local LLM. But
Mhm.
that is very much in active development and it is coming soon. And if you want to be kept in the loop and be the first to know, I would highly recommend joining our Discord channel, which I'm sure you'll find in some of our comms.
I'll drop it right away.
I think Vibber. It's neat that we can also use sub agents made in CC. Yeah. So again, you really don't have to. It's not an either or situation. You should be free to experiment with different provider platforms, with different configs to figure out what fits, what works for you, what doesn't, and just get the value add from the individual services, including Zencoder. Now, personally, we design our infrastructure to work really well with where context is abundant, but at the same time scattered, right? So, A, in really large code bases, B, in largely distributed code bases, right? And C, in distributed use cases, which is why you'll find that, you know, even at Zencoder, we have, we're pretty good at prompting, I'd like to think. And even we have 60 custom agents that sort of preserve the functionality for each use case. The key thing here is freedom to experiment without having to pay a fortune, right? You should be paying for the actual value that you're getting.
100%. I think that kind of sums it up. Super powerful. I think the Universal AI platform kind of makes Zencoder more super powerful with, with the ability to connect your own cloud subscription, your own GB subscription, and there you go. You can use the superpower of Zencoder with these existing subscriptions. I think that is a pretty much big game changer. So yeah, any one of you, if you're already trying this out, please do let us know how do you feel. Please do let us know your feedback on Slack, email. We are everywhere. So ping us. We'll be happy to hear your feedback. And if you're still yet to try, do give it a shot and do let us know how do you feel about it. So before we close down today, Leon, do you have anything last to brief up to the community?
I would love if you do give it a shot and bring your own CLI. Um, uh, I would love to see how much inference you all can actually get out of it and what you end up building with Zencoder when you're just billing against that sort of unmetered plan. Um, uh, I've got another question from Piotr here. When we use free version of CLI, is repo used for training? Yeah, so we don't index your repo, but the prompts can be used for training on the free plan. That said, I believe that's the case for Claude as well, right?
Yep.
So if you're coming with Claude, great. If you're coming with Codex, fantastic. Build something awesome. Hopefully leverage some dope Zencoder features while you're doing it. Um, and let me know what you build. I'll see you in the community. I'll see you in the next one.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Leon. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much for taking the demo. And again, as Leon has said, we'll see you again in the next one. And till then, take care. Bye.
Bye everybody.